There's a moment many women recognize in difficult conversations. You bring up something simple. Maybe he lied. Maybe he crossed a boundary. Maybe he said something disrespectful, so you calmly point it out. But suddenly the conversation changes. Instead of responding to the issue, he responds to your tone. Why are you talking to me like that? You don't have to have an attitude. If you said it nicer, I'd listen. And suddenly the conversation isn't about what happened anymore. It's about how you said it. Through the silver lens, observers notice something important. The moment your tone becomes the topic, the original issue quietly disappears. And this is not an accident. It's a pattern. Because manipulators understand something about accountability. If they respond directly to the behavior you're questioning, they must either explain themselves or admit fault. Both of those positions remove control. But if they redirect the conversation to your tone, something interesting happens. The power dynamic shifts. Now you're the one explaining yourself. You're clarifying your intention. You're trying to prove you weren't attacking them. Meanwhile, the original issue slowly fades away. This technique has a name. It's called tone policing. But the purpose isn't emotional harmony. The purpose is psychological redirection. Instead of answering the accusation, the manipulator critiques the delivery. Through the silver lens, the pattern becomes very clear. Imagine you say, "I noticed you lied about where you were." Instead of addressing the lie, he responds, "Why are you accusing me like that?" Or, "You always sound aggressive when you talk to me." Now you pause, because suddenly you're questioning yourself. Did I sound aggressive? Maybe I should say it differently. So you soften your voice. You try again. "I'm not accusing you, I'm just asking." And while you adjust your tone, the lie itself never gets addressed. Observers recognize this pattern quickly. The issue didn't get solved. The conversation simply got redirected. Through the silver lens, the psychology becomes obvious. Tone arguments never end, because tone can always be criticized. You can always be told you sounded too emotional, too cold, too dramatic, too defensive. And the more you try to correct your tone, the further the conversation moves away from the original issue. Here's something many women begin to notice after a while. Even when you speak calmly, even when you choose careful words, even when you stay respectful, he still finds something wrong with the tone. Why? Because the real problem was never the tone. The real problem was being questioned at all. For certain personalities, accountability feels like a loss of control, so they instinctively redirect the conversation somewhere safer. Your tone, your attitude, your energy, anything except the behavior itself. Observers notice something important here. When someone consistently critiques your tone, they are often trying to manage your confidence, because the more uncertain you become about how you speak, the less likely you are to speak up at all, and that quietly restores the control dynamic. But something interesting happens when someone stops adjusting their tone to make the conversation comfortable. Instead, they calmly return to the issue. No defending the tone, no explaining the intention, just the original point. We can talk about tone later. Right now, I'm asking about the lie. This moment often creates tension, because the escape route just closed. Now the conversation has nowhere to go except the original issue. Through the silver lens, this is when the pattern becomes fully visible. You begin to see whether someone wants resolution or simply control of the conversation. Here is the realization many women eventually reach. Healthy people might occasionally notice tone, but manipulators depend on it. Because tone arguments keep the focus away from accountability. And the moment someone constantly critiques your tone instead of addressing the issue, the conversation is no longer about communication. It's about avoiding responsibility. Through the silver lens, once that pattern becomes clear, it becomes very difficult to ignore. And the moment someone stops defending their tone, the manipulator often discovers something uncomfortable. The conversation has finally returned to the behavior.